Why do we always introduce Ashley Bastock right after the most out-of-pocket conversations? Ashley Bastock every single Wednesday here at 3:20 of Cleveland.com. Ashley, I want to be very clear here. I don't do this on purpose. It just happens.
Guys, I got to be honest. I was finishing a story that's still not done yet. I have no clue what this out-of-pocket conversation was.
Never happened.
My question is, do I want to know? Because I feel like the answer is no.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, I would just.
Not this one.
Let's remain.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, this makes me feel a lot better now.
Yeah, you guys are off the hook. Oh, my gosh. I was so worried about Denzel Ward and his cramping that he suffered in the Baltimore game. So be sure to read about that over on Cleveland.com later. But, yeah, I have no idea what you were talking about because I was worried about Denzel.
Well, that's interesting because I have no idea what Kevin Stefanski's talking about when it comes to not Denzel's cramping issues, but Dwan Jones' cramping issues. And it kind of threw up, like, I don't know that sounds right, flares on Sunday. And then today when Dwan said, I wasn't cramping or anything, am I in the wrong for suggesting it sure seems like this whole thing isn't on the level or isn't what maybe Kevin Stefanski says it is?
Well, I think you're not in the wrong for being like, this is weird. I can tell you what my impression is after today. I talked to Dwan Jones, a group of us did. I was there for the full time he talked. I was obviously there for Kevin Stefanski's presser. So, Kevin, the answer he had given regarding Dwan Jones rotating some snaps in this game was related to heat. That was, I believe, how it was framed every time Kevin brought it up. I don't think he ever said the word cramping. He said related to heat. Now, when we talked to Dwan Jones, Dwan is the one who said, well, it was essentially like predetermined. He went into the game knowing that was going to be the plan, to rotate him out because of how hot it was. It was like an 82-degree start to that game. I'm not sure if it actually felt like it was hotter with the feels-like temperatures. So, yeah, certainly that is odd, right? Like, there's not a lot of left tackles, not really any other starting left tackle I can think of where a team is going to do that. Now, but here's the other part of it that I think will prevent the conspiracy theories about it. He was specifically asked, was this a performance issue then? And Dwan said no. He said it was something he knew they were going to do going into that game. And again, I still think that's worrisome when you are doing that for your starting left tackle. But Dwan Jones is also a guy that we've seen struggle in the heat, and I'm guessing they didn't want to exacerbate anything or cause him to have to miss significant time if it could be avoided. And really, they did that. He did play a majority of the game, and he didn't exit and never come back. And, I'm thinking of as recently as July 30th, we saw him have to leave one of these really, really hot training camp practices that they had a ton of. He was carted off related to heat. He had to leave the Jacksonville game last year in week 2 due to cramping. Of course, everyone probably remembers him throwing up at rookie minicamp a couple years ago. And while he ate too much that day, it was also really hot and muggy. So this is a player with a history of this. And yeah, I definitely think it's a bit more than just heat related, as Kevin Stefanski said after talking to Dwan Jones today, in the sense that they had a predetermined plan for how to manage him in that heat.
Yeah, Ashley, it was just really convenient, though, that Dwan looked as bad as he did, and then he goes out, and then the moment he comes back in is right after the KT flag that got thrown. It was like the timing on that is convenient. You said it yourself. Nowhere else in the NFL do you see something like this happen. This is not what you do with starting left tackles.
No, and you know what? I think this week is going to be a really, really big test for him, right? That whole Green Bay line is so good. And obviously you have the added challenge now of Micah Parsons. And it's fascinating because last year when Micah Parsons played the Browns with the Cowboys, he moves around a lot. He moves around a lot with the Cowboys. The Packers seem to be moving him around a lot as well. I asked Dwan about that today. And he played mostly against Dwan on the right side last year against the Browns. And according to PFF in that game, he had like 11 total pressures. One of those was a sack. And they didn't all come against Dwan because he played 20-some snaps, 23 snaps, I want to say, against James Hudson at the left tackle spot that game. So he did have some success against Dawand. I'm curious to see how much are they going to try him there if Jack Conklin starts, which, I would think things are trending that way right now. Would they want to match him up with Dwan versus Jack? Like, it wouldn't surprise me to see that. But again, he's a guy who moves around. So yeah, there's another shot there in terms of the performance aspect of it. But the fact that that was a plan going into that Baltimore game to have him rotate, I mean, maybe it was strategic during the timing, but it really does. I tend to believe the messaging that we've heard, that it was not a performance issue.
Ashley, speaking of performance issues, Joe Flacco's averaging 2 turnovers per game here. And to have this conversation, I've made the point of, like, it does feel like they're trying to dial Joe back a bit. And two numbers that stand out is his completed air yards per attempt in 2025 is almost half that of what it was in 2023. And his intended air yards per attempt is, I want to say, almost 3 full yards less per attempt this year than it was in 2023. Do the Browns owe it to Joe Flacco to, quote unquote, let him cook, meaning letting him throw the ball down the field more, if there are maybe some starting signs they might be willing to bench him in the near future?
Well, I think the issue is right now, after rewatching that Ravens game, I think it was especially evident, like, guys just weren't getting open, right? Like, I mean, I think it was a struggle for these guys to get open against Baltimore, or guys were falling down in the case of said Tillman. Like, I don't know that those numbers are interesting, especially the yards per attempt number, I think, is really interesting. But I also think when you have guys not getting open, and then you have Joe Flacco pushing, and these deep throws in the case of that attempt to David Njoku this past week, when that's getting picked off, it's like, man, do you need to dial it back even more? Like, I don't know, but I think the problem might not be with the design in terms of how many yards is each throw, but how are these guys not getting open? Like, that to me is more of the real million-dollar question. Is that a scheme thing? Can they scheme something up? Was Baltimore just a bad matchup for them? Like, I don't know. But I think in order for him to have a chance at those, like, gunslinging type throws, he needs more help. And I think those numbers from 23, probably a big part of that had to do with his chemistry with Amari Cooper. And I think, like, Joe Flacco and Jerry Jeudy have potential, but I don't think they are on the level that he was at with Amari Cooper that season yet. And again, I think a big part of that goes back to this 4-way quarterback competition that just went on too long.
Ashley, by this time last week, we'd already had trash talk from Jerry Jeudy. I noticed I hadn't seen much trash talk towards the Packers this week. Was the vibe in the locker room just a little bit different when it comes to the mentality of basically calling out other players, et cetera?
Yeah, I think that this week certainly already feels a little bit different. And, I think a big part of that last week, these division games always get chippy. They just do. I think there's just something about them. It's teams that know each other so well, teams that obviously I think the rivalries in the AFC North are very real. And, yeah, I mean, the Packers have played so well these first 2 games. I think it is wise to not be giving them anything that could be construed as bulletin board material. So I definitely think the vibe feels different in that way, and I think that's a good thing right now. If you're the Browns, you want your play to do most of the talking when you're 0-2.
Ashley Bastock on the fan hotline here with Nick and JP. So the Browns are 0-2, and that doesn't bug me so much as the way the Baltimore game fell apart. So I probably am erring a little on the side of recency bias, but where's your maybe concern-ometer with the Browns at 0-2 coming off the Baltimore loss?
Ooh, are we going on like a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being most concerned? Like,
yes.
What do you guys want me to do? Okay, let's do that. You know what? I'm gonna say probably like a 7 or 8 right now, just because. Look, I think we kind of know what is important for this team this year, and we knew it coming into the season, right? Like, we talked extensively about they need to figure out what the heck is going on at quarterback. and how they're going to use their 2 first-round picks next year. I think this season they're kind of straddling the line between two worlds. Like, we know this isn't a traditional rebuild, but I think they have one group of players in like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, those older veterans that are in their prime still, who they think are like those Super Bowl caliber players. But then now you have these young rookies. I think this draft class is like the best draft class we've seen from Andrew Berry, from everything we've seen so far. And you're trying to get them up to speed, but it's not a complete picture yet, and you don't have a quarterback. So it wouldn't surprise me. I think I came into this schedule this season being like, wow, these first 6 games are insane. Like, you could make an argument for them losing all 6. Now, it's really hard to lose all 6, but you can see a world in which that happens. So I'm not like overly panicked because they've lost the first 2 games, but I also think like my expectations were just different than they were last year. This is not a team that is going to seriously contend for the Super Bowl this year. We talked about everything would need to go right for them in order to even make a push for a wild card spot. So I still think the most important things are figuring out your future at quarterback. Look, I do think I am concerned in the sense that I think there's a real possibility we might see Dillon Gabriel sooner than even the Browns expected, and I still hope that that is a decision whenever we do see Dillon Gabriel, when he starts, that it does not hinder his development, that it's not like a total disaster that he is walking into. I'll say it that way, because so much can go wrong for rookie quarterbacks, and I do hope he's still in the right spot. But look, I think overall the results, the 2 losses, like, if you told me 4 weeks ago, hey, they're going to be 0-2 after the first 2 weeks, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see when that happens, or how that happens, I guess I should say.
How concerned are you that it might be too early to put Dillon Gabriel out there?
Well, I mean, I think overall coming into the season, the week that I had marked was week 6 against the Steelers or week 7 against the Dolphins as being kind of like a natural turning point. Like, look, week 6 against the Steelers on the road after the Steelers have a bye is a tough matchup. I think there truly is only so much you can do. Week 7 at the Dolphins, probably a little bit better the way things are going in Miami. But yeah, I mean, if you're starting him week 5 or week 4, like, you know, we don't have any indication that that's what's going to happen. So I'm talking hypothetically here, knowing he is the backup. I think you just worry about, is it going to be functional enough, the Browns offense, for him to not totally lose confidence? And again, I think that's why it's the right decision to stick with Joe Flacco now for as long as possible, because he is a veteran who can handle these things. I understand fans' frustration and wanting to see the rookies, but I really just keep harping on this because I really truly believe it. You saw what happens when a rookie quarterback gets thrown into one of these situations and is not ready, with the Dorian Thompson-Robinson experience a few years ago. We don't need that again. So I do think, I hope he's prepared, and I hope they give him as much time to be prepared as possible. But those are things you do have to worry about if he is going to be making a start sooner rather than later.
Ashley, great stuff as always. We appreciate you. Hopefully this time next week we're talking about a win and maybe just a different angle on the season.
I hope we can have a more positive spin, but you guys go back to having some more unhinged conversations. I can't wait to recap them later.
Oh, don't you worry. That's exactly where we're going from here. Ashley Bastock there, Cleveland.com, every single Wednesday at 3:20.